So what's going on guys, Kid is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best striker PVE build in Lost Ark. So in this guide I will show you what abilities and awakening skill you want to get. Then I will explain what are the best engravings, gems and cards to use for endgame content. And then lastly I will show you the best gameplay and even which stats you need to allocate for PVE, so you would be able to get the best results and highest damage possible and much more. So no matter how low or high level or gear score your character is, you can easily use this build and follow the step-by-step guide. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So the striker is a fast-paced brawler class. He deals quick hits and does very high DPS. In general, the striker is a burst synergy class because of the attack speed buffs and crit chance debuffs he gets from his abilities. So then for the endgame build we will be using the esoteric flurry engraving, which is built around filling up your elemental meter and then using your special esoteric skills, which will do massive amounts of damage and much more. So if you are looking for the best leveling, raiding, chaos dungeon or any other PvE content build, then this is the one for you. Okay, so now let's move over to the build itself, and these are the skills you want to have. So for the first ability we have the esoteric skill called the Blast Formation, and we want to use 10 levels to unlock the weak point detection, flame explosion and great explosion. Then for your gems you want to get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the second one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Gale Wind. Then for the second ability we have the esoteric skill called the Tiger Emerges, and we use 10 more levels to select the quick preparation, single strike and ascension. Then for your gems you want to get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the other one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Overwhelm. Then for the next one we have the Lightning Whisper ability, and we use once again 10 levels to unlock the Lightning Blessing, Quick Preparation and Fatal Lightning. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wolf. Then for the fourth ability we have the esoteric skill called the Lightning Tiger Strike, and we use 10 levels to select the single strike, weak point detection and charge kick. Then for your gems you want to get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the second one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Gale Wind. Then for the next one we have the Storm Dragon Awakening, and this time we use only 4 levels to unlock the excellent mobility. Then for your gems you want to get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the other one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Rage. So then for one of the last abilities we have the Sky Shattering Blow, and we use 4 more levels to select the excellent mobility. Then for your gems you don't want to select anything. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wolf. Then for the 7th ability we have the Triple Fist, and we use once again 4 levels to unlock the Elemental Extortion. Then for your gems you want to get the Damage Increase gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wealth. And then for the last and final ability we have the Moonflash Kick, and we use our last 10 levels to select the White Flame Kick, excellent mobility and full moon kick. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wolf. Then as well after level 50 for your awakening skill you want to get the ultimate skill called the Explosive Heat Awakening. But if you haven't reached level 50 yet, then here is a specific guide on which abilities you should upgrade first while leveling with the striker. And then on top of all this, focus on equipping as high item level gear as you can. And then at the end game you should have 350 crit, 350 specialization and 800 swiftness. But again, if you haven't reached this point yet, then try to have around 60% stats into swiftness, then the next 20% stats into crit, and then the rest 20% stats into specialization. Okay, so then the way I would recommend to upgrade this build is at level 50, you will get around 250 points. So this is how your build should look like. But then by doing more and more endgame content you will get more points. And at the absolute endgame, this is how your build should look like with all the 410 skill points. So at the start you use the 252 point build, and then by leveling up and completing quests you will get more points. So just keep on improving your skills and getting higher tier runes and gems as well. So then let's move over to the engravings, and you want to get the esoteric flurry, and this engraving is essential because it changes the elemental orb cost for all striker esoteric skills to 1, and this will increase our damage by a lot. So then the second engraving is called the Master of Ambush, and this is a great engraving that synergizes very well with the striker, as you should be always trying to hit the enemies with the back attacks, so this will be a really good damage increase. Then the next one is called the Keen Blunt Weapon, and because we receive a lot of crit rate from using Lightning Whisper ability, getting increased crit damage will come very useful to increase our overall damage. Then for the fourth engraving, you want to get the mass increase, and as we have a lot of swiftness, we can sacrifice 10% attack speed for massive plus 18% attack power and much more. Then the next one is called the Grudge, and this is more advanced engraving that is recommended for tier 3 content. This Grudge is the most efficient engraving against mobs, and you will get your damage increased, but in return you will take 20% more damage. So when you get to the very endgame content, which is called tier 3, then get this engraving, and before using it, get it to at least level 2, because at level 1 this engraving is not that efficient. And then for the last one we have the Curse Doll, and this is a significant attack power increase at the cost of 25% healing penalty. This penalty can be offset by paying more attention on dodging red AoE circles and by using healing potions more often. So then in my summary, I would recommend to get the top 3 engravings first and then the bottom 3. And then last but not the least, let's move over to your cards, and you want to get the Armen, Syria, Solas, King Tyrone, Carmen and Delane Armen. In general, these cards are an endgame system for maximizing your character, so you don't have to get them right away. But these specific cards will optimize your damage output in PVE even more. I did bunch of testing for this build and this was the best and most optimized card set. Okay, so then moving over to the gameplay. And if you have played this class while leveling, you will be very familiar with the skills. So I will just try to give you a short description. So then for the first 3 abilities, we have the esoteric skills called the Lightning Tiger Strike, Blast Formation and Tiger Emerges, and these are your main highest damage skills that this build is designed around. Then the second ability is called the Sky Shattering Blow, and this skill is usually used as a counter attack, and it also provides a massive attack speed and movement speed buffs. Then the next ability is called the Lightning Whisper, and this skill deals damage and most importantly will give you a speed and attack buff, while at the same time debuffing your enemies for minus 18% crit resistance. Then for the next 2 abilities we have the Moon Flash Kick and Triple Fist, and these are your simple damage skills that will generate a lot of elemental meter. Then for one of the last abilities we have the Storm Dragon Awakening, and this is great for proccing rune effects since all 3 attacks count as a cast skill, and that's why this damage skill is great to pair with the Rage rune for a higher chance to proc the attack speed and movement speed buffs. And then lastly, our awakening skill is called the Explosion Heat Awakening, and this ability will dash your character forwards 4 different times, and each time you will do a lot of damage and get a push immunity as well. And as the skill is pretty straightforward, I usually use this ability for more damage when fighting a boss or just for more mobility in general. Okay, so then let's take a closer look at your best skill rotation. And for the highest damage possible at the beginning of the fight, you want to use the Storm Dragon Awakening 3 times, then the Sky Shattering Blow, then Lightning Whisper, then esoteric skill called the Lightning Tiger Strike, then the next esoteric skill called the Tiger Emerges, then the Moon Flash Kick, then the Sky Shattering Blow, and then finish it off with your last esoteric skill called the Blast Formation. So let's see what we did in this rotation. But first, while using the Storm Dragon Awakening 3 times, we inflicted a bunch of damage to the enemy, and then most importantly we filled up our meter and pushed our enemies in the air. Then afterwards we used the next 2 skills, which will give us attack speed buffs and a crit resistance debuffs to our enemies. Then after this is done, we use our 3 highest damage skills. Then after that we again reapply the attack speed buff on ourselves by using the Sky Shattering Blow again, and then lastly we use our last highest damage skill called the Blast Formation. But usually if the enemies are not dead by this point, then after the rotation ends you can include your awakening skill or even the rest of your skills that we did not use, and that's about it. So now for my last and final conclusions for this build. Remember that the Esoteric Flurry Striker can unleash up to 3 to 4 esoteric skills because of the 1 elemental orb benefit we get from our engraving selection. So this will allow you to have more stagger and higher DPS than any other striker build. Then remember that your buffs can stack, so don't forget to stack up both of your buffs on top of each other for the highest damage possible. And then lastly, when you're playing with other players in groups, don't forget to coordinate with each other to use your buffs buffs at the same time, so you can stack as much buffs as possible on top of each other and then do massive amounts of damage, and that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other good Lost Ark PvE classes that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you wouldn't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day, and I'll catch you in my next video. So take it easy, peace.
Yo, I ain't here